So, Sue Bird is obviously one of the greatest of all time, and she's made a take about Stephen A. Smith on her podcast, and it was about the old ratings. So basically, the gist of it is that you can see here, Sue Bird talks about the overall viewership without Caitlin Clark, and how Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp portray the picture differently. Ironically enough, I think she's probably calling out the wrong people. I think it is completely disingenuous to say that Caitlin Clark is not the biggest draw in the sport. I think it's completely false to say that Caitlin Clark is not arguably bigger than the sport. She's bigger than the league. Like, if Caitlin Clark said she was going to, like, for lack of a better word, if Caitlin Clark said, I'm going to do a sit-down interview with literally anybody. Heck, Caitlin Clark could say, I'm going to do a sit-down interview with Mick Talks Hoops live at this time. And it would probably, nothing to do with basketball, get more viewers than 50% of, more concurrent viewers than 50% of WNBA games. That's just the fact of it all. That's how big a star she is. But also, the fact is a rising tide lifts all boats, and Caitlin Clark is a big reason for the growth of women's sports right now. And the growth of women's sports is a big reason for why the WNBA is growing and continuing to grow. And it also helps that the league is good. There are a lot of good teams in the league, especially the two teams that are in the finals. So Stephen A. Smith responded to Sue Bird by saying, I'm disgusted Sue Bird called me out. Let's react to some of the clips of this. I'll put it at 1.5 times speed. This video could take a while, so we are going to be reacting to it. Obviously, it's not going to be showing full Stephen A. Schmidt stuff because, obviously,
I got to transition. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I saw it and then I read the article. And to be quite honest with you, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with Sue Bird, okay? Sue Bird, Hall of Fame caliber, Sue Bird, WNBA, college basketball. Matter of fact, one of the best people that I've ever met, or one of the best women I've ever met in professional or collegiate sports. I love her.
And one thing I will say is that, like, to be fair, Stephen A. Smith, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. The reality is that he's probably mildly annoyed at it. And he's probably mildly annoyed to take, but, you know, you got to be disgusted. You got to be absolutely disgusted. And look, I'm sorry, I'm doing the same. I'll do the same thing. I'll do the same thing. Like, you gotta make sure that it seems like it's 100 times worse than it is.
But I didn't appreciate this article that I read, okay, when it came to her talking about yours truly. Because you see, far be it, this is the headline, y'all. Sue Bird calls out ESPN host for, quote,
sorry about the backup camera. I will make one. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry about the backup camera. Yeah, it just disconnected from the old thing. There we go. Backup camera is not very good, but it's, you know, it's better than a frozen camera, I guess.
Hating on WNBA playoff ratings after Caitlin Clark's exit. You say, what? Why? Why, y'all? Really? This is where we have to go? Can we put her quotes up on the screen, please? Because I want everybody to know what she said. What she said about your boy, okay? This is the wonderful, the marvelous Sue Bird. I love her to death. Love her.
And this is what she said here. Numbers are astronomical. She's still a big draw. She brings in all, whatever, low reviewership. But in the WNBA playoffs, we use semi-final where Caitlin obviously is not in it because her team lost. You're still breaking record WNBA years, or from previous WNBA years, and it's still cracking 1 million viewers. It didn't crack 1 million viewers. That is just objectively, maybe one game cracked 1 million viewers, but in fairness, it didn't crack 1 million viewers. I will say that is a false quote. And then she also said the numbers are really high and they're still really meaningful, yet some people continue to flip that. I've seen Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. What I don't understand is they work for ESPN, so why are you hating on a business ESPN is in? The finals are 130%. No, they're not. They're not 130%, I don't think, anyway. The semifinals, I really don't think they are, but they are up enough. And that's the thing where it's like, I don't understand people dunking on the ratings because the ratings are still way up on another year. But, like, it's also just a fact Caitlin Clark is bigger in the league. That's just the reality of it. I'm someone that'll say, yes, Caitlin Clark's bigger in the league, but also Caitlin Clark has helped the rest of the league grow. And, yeah, that's basically Stephen A. Smith is reacting to.
Possibly be. Once again, Sue Bird is a champion, Hall of Fame caliber, and a beautiful person. I am a huge fan of her as a person and a player. One of the great pleasures I've had was interviewing her in the past. I'm only addressing her points about me and what she said in relation to the whole Caitlin Clark story. Respectfully, Sue Bird, you are inaccurate. It is just that simple. First things first. We cover sports, right? Don't we cover sports? Looking at one of my brothers, Sherry, do we cover sports? Do we cover sports? Aaron, do we cover sports? Grit, do we cover sports?
And he basically just goes, like, in fairness, Stephen A. Smith does kind of go on a little bit of a like tangent where he's more so than anything talking about how, look, we cover everything in the WNBA. And I actually do agree with that point. Like, you cover everything in sports. You cover whatever is the news. And there are sometimes the ratings are the news. And that's just kind of the reality of the business you're in. Because, like, I'm sorry, like, it's news that, I don't know. It's news that Caitlin Clark is more popular, and it's news when Kennedy Carter cheap shots Caitlin Clark. It's not news when, as great as she is, it's not going to be news when Ezzy Magbagor has a dominant defensive performance and holds Aja Wilson under a season average. The reality of it is that, like, news is news and what's not news is not news. But I do think it's interesting what Stephen A. Smith said at the end of this.
Outs. The good, the bad, the ugly. That's what. It doesn't work that way, Sue Bird. You are one of the many who have contributed to the upliftment of the sport in a phenomenal, incomparable way. You should have our gratitude, our appreciation. And anytime I think about the WNBA, I think about you. I think about Diana Taurasi. I think about a host of other Candace Parkers, Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoop, Cynthia Cooper. The list goes on and on and on. I get all of that. But you know something? Magic Johnson did great, great things for the NBA. Larry Bird did great, great things for the NBA. But when that brother Michael Jordan came along, they stood down. Not on the basketball court competing against him, but nobody complained about the shine he received. One reason was because they knew he deserved it. You know what the other reason was? It built the profile of the NBA.
And that is 100% on the money from Stephen A. Smith. I think that's what the biggest problem is that there are a few specific players that, as we've said, is like, they were okay with it because it built the profile of the NBA. There are a lot of WNBA players. Not even a lot. It's a very small percentage, by the way. There are a very small percentage of WNBA players. Like, people think it's most of the league. It's a really small percentage of the league. Because the vast majority of the league just want to make more money. But that very small percentage of the league, what they're trying to do is, they are trying to, they're saying like, oh, Caitlin Clark's going to uplift the league. They only want the league uplifted if it's via them. Or via people that they want it to be. Like, that's what's, and it's not about anything. Like, people are giving every excuse in the world for, about why Caitlin Clark shouldn't be the face. And obviously very few of them are basketball reasons. Or why they think it's unfair with Caitlin Clark. The reality of this is that the new basketball fans, like the NBA fans, all really like Nafisa Collier. Like, the amount of new fans Arike Gumbawale has. The amount of fans Courtney Williams is going to have for her playoff run. The reality is that the narratives they had for why Caitlin Clark was so big are now like falling, because you're seeing the players that have become more popular this year. Like, it's ironically, it's not Sabrina Ionescu, who was already the most popular player prior to Caitlin Clark. But the growth in popularity of Fee Collier is greater than the growth in popularity of Sabrina Ionescu. So the reality is that the better player, like, the more eyes that are on the sport, the better player is going to shine. And surprisingly enough, I think if the Aja Wilson wasn't being pushed down people's throats as the MVP before a ball was dribbled, if Aja Wilson wasn't out here saying Caitlin Clark didn't deserve to have a shoe deal, while knowing she had her own shoe deal, if Aja Wilson wasn't so unlikable, I think she'd be not Caitlin Clark big, but she would be second as big as Caitlin Clark. And not have her jersey being outsold by Kate Martin. I'm sorry, if Sydney Fulton makes the WNBA, Aja Wilson, you're not going to be in the top 5. Like, the top 5 jersey sales next year, I can nearly guarantee you are going to be Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, Angel Reese. Maybe Paige Beckers. Like, people don't understand. Everyone's like about the voting, especially if the Swifties get involved. The top 5 in voting are going to be the starting 5 for the Indiana Fever. And that is no word of a lie. So anyway, yeah, that's the video. Like, I think I get why Sue Bird was complaining, because there are a lot of people. So I'm just going to type in WNBA ratings. So, okay, in fairness, WNBA's ratings surge. WNBA playoffs tank without Caitlin Clark as woke players cry racism. What does that mean? What does that mean? WNBA ratings plummet. And they, ironically enough, neither are false. The ratings are very good in comparison, but they also plummeted from Clark. Both of them are correct, but you're framing things in different ways. And ironically enough, I don't think Stephen A. Smith did anything. I think she just threw the name in Stephen A. Smith in for her point.